Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings as we have got rain warnings issued for this evening into tomorrow, as we are going to see some very heavy rain moving in from the west. You can already see it on the live radar moving in at the moment for many parts of England and Wales. We are going to see potentially disruptive rainfall as the ground is very saturated and we could see further flooding in places. Now, it is going to remain very unsettled over the next few days, as we'll see from the latest UKV. However, the one change we will see through the next sort of 5 to 7 days is instead of being very mild and unsettled, it could turn quite a bit cooler and very unsettled as well. And there is even some runs showing some really stormy weather towards the middle to second half of this upcoming working week, with some really deep lows exiting out of Greenland as the jet stream does dip southwards, not only bringing cooler air in, but also bringing those central lows closer towards our shores. And that is something that we'll see as well on the latest GFS-GEM, EastWF, and the ensembles in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy the videos, please do like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. And do start on the live radar. You can already see this band of very heavy rain moving slowly eastwards at the moment, although darker greens, yellows and oranges showing some really heavy rain in places. Now it is moving through at a fairly decent rate, but as I said, because of the very saturated ground, these totals, which won't be amazing in them by themselves, but on top of what we've seen so far, could, as I said, cause issues. You can see at the moment the extent of the rain is kind of through central southern England, towards the East Midlands, up towards northeast England, up towards eastern Scotland. Now we're just going to continue to see that pile further eastwards through the rest of this evening. Now temperatures are fairly mild once again, even towards Scotland over the Highlands. Temperatures above freezing, which is pretty unusual for the middle of February, as we have got a big wedge of very mild air in with this weather front, and that is going to continue over the coming days. Towards the second half of this upcoming working week, it could start to turn cooler from the northwest, with cold polar maritime air masses moving in with those deeper lows as that jet stream does drop southwards. Now, if you look at the latest weather warnings, you can see this widespread rain warning we have issued for much of England and southern Wales, pretty much getting up towards the Midlands, southwards, and again, we're not going to see a ridiculous amount of rainfall in itself, but it's on top of everything we've seen so far. You can see it's from 3 p.m. today until 9 a.m. tomorrow, and you can see it has been updated today to show the rain is expected across all of England and Wales later Saturday into early Sunday. The warning, though, has been cancelled for much of North Wales, northern and western England, as impacts are now less likely. So the rain, luckily further northwards, isn't going to be as heavy as anticipated a couple of days ago, but it still will be further southwards. And if you look at those further details, you can see many places 10 to 15 mils, which isn't ridiculous, but that on top of the saturated ground is going to cause issues. 30 to 40 millimetres possible in some places, and there is a small chance that it doesn't particularly clear eastern areas on Sunday morning, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, as that could drag the miserable weather into tomorrow as well, or further into tomorrow as well. You see, high likelihood, lower end of the impact matrix, and you can see, as I say, it carries on into tomorrow before expiring at 9 a.m. But as I said, eastern areas could linger further. Hopefully not, but there is the risk, as I said, it does linger slightly further than that. Now, if you go over to the latest UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperatures over the next 5 days, you can see the rain moving in at the moment, giving very heavy rain overnight tonight for all, slowly clearing eastwards, and it could, as said, linger in those eastern areas into the morning, but perhaps UKV more in the southeastern areas before it does clear by the middle of the afternoon. All into a pattern of sunshine and showers, nothing too bad, but much more pleasant than it has been the last couple of days with rain around. However, it doesn't last long. As we head into Monday, another band of precipitation moves in, but it does lose its intensity as we head into Monday. And then through the middle of the working week, more rainfall moving in, but not as disruptive and not as widespread and slower moving. But you can see colder air starting to come in behind this weather front with a few wintry showers across Scotland. This is as that polar maritime air mass digs in, jet stream pushing southwards, allowing these deeper lows to move in. And you can see, as by the time we get to Wednesday, heavy rain in the south, very heavy rain in the south, and very unsettled conditions for all with lots more convective showers, emphasising the much lower pressure and a lot more energy within the atmosphere. You can also see it's cooler. The upper air temperatures are dropping at the moment. We're looking at low to mid single digits, but by the middle to end of the week, more down to the minus single digits, around the -4, -5 degrees could be coming in from the northwest. Again, it's a polar maritime air mass, so it probably won't cause much winteriness apart from higher ground further northwards, but it's going to make it quite a bit cooler. Instead of 13, 14 or higher in the daytime that we've seen over the past week, we even saw 18 degrees earlier this week. It's more likely to be 7 or 8, more towards average or slightly below average. If you look at the mean sea level pressure as well, you can see that pressure is really dropping. If you look right to the top left of the screen here, 970 millibars or lower out to our northwest, and that is slowly moving in. So you can see cooler and much lower pressure moving in by the middle to second half of the week. If you put in the max temperatures, you can see through today, 13, 14 degrees quite widely. Again, another pretty mild day, and that will continue into tomorrow as well, 13 or 14 degrees. Into Monday, slightly cooler, more down to sort of 8 to 12, but still above average for most. And into Tuesday, similar, again, 8 to 12 degrees. And then finally, as we get into Wednesday, cooling down a little bit in the north, but still low teens in the south. By Thursday, though, it will likely be quite a bit cooler for all. As you can already see temperatures dropping down close towards freezing through the early hours of Thursday. Again, not too unusual for this time of year, but a quite a big change to what we've seen over the last week or so. It has been pretty mild indeed. Now, if we do over to the longer range, we'll be able to see the evolution of this more stormy and cooler pattern arrive. Now, of course, a couple of weeks ago, and even in the past sort of week to 10 days, we have been talking about the risk of substantially colder weather. A lot of the longer range runs have shown it, a lot of the extended charts have shown it, but it's never got into the 10-day range. And this is because we've never been able to get that blocking evolving further northwards, like a lot of the longer range charts have been showing. It has been very frustrating, and I have said this in most of the videos over the past week. So I just want to emphasise how disappointing it has been that the models have been so wrong, because it does make me feel bad when I'm posting videos showing models showing very cold weather potentially coming up, people perhaps looking forward to that, and it never quite comes off. It is frustrating because it comes across as though we're getting a lot wrong, but it's just one of those where this year, for reasons that I'm not 100% sure on, the models just had really poor performance in that medium to longer range, that sort of 10 to 20 day range. It's had really poor performance. Anything in that 10 to 20 day range that we've seen from extended range runs has never come off, always changed near the time, or even when we did actually see some cold weather through December or late November and in that other spell in January, it was much more watered down than we initially thought it was going to be. So again, I'll continue to apologise for that over the course of the next couple of weeks, the remaining parts of winter, because I know some people will definitely be disappointed watching this, as this winter had so much hope and so much hype, and it's just unfortunately not really come off if you are a wintry lover. But there is still the risk of something cool over the next couple of months. Of course, as we saw in yesterday's video, some stratospheric warming is occurring this week, within the next sort of 5 to 7 days. And then, of course, the polar vortex is likely to be pretty weak through the rest of its existence through the early part of this year. So it is likely to mean blocking is more probable as we head into spring. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. But again, it's not proper cold, as of course we're getting into the spring months then, when it's just a little bit more annoying than anything particularly wintry. But if we run through the latest GFS, you can see that at the moment we've got westerly winds, but by the middle of the second half of the week, look at the jet stream. It dives so much further southwards into parts of Portugal and Spain. And look at this big low dropping right over the top of us, not only introducing very deep area of low pressure, very strong winds, lots of heavy rain, convective showers, but much cooler air as well. Again, it's nothing cold, it's polar maritime air, so it's going to be around that 0, potentially as low as -8 degrees at 850 HPA, but unlikely to be much colder than that. It does persist through much of the rest of the working week into the weekend, and eventually the GFS has high pressure trying to build back in, but an oscillating pattern of stormy and cool weather continuing all the way to the end of this run. So the unsettled theme does not change, but it definitely is a little bit cooler, Potentially a bit more wintry over northern hills, as we do see colder air mixing in with these lows a bit more, as we do see the jet stream much further southwards. If you go to right now, you can see the jet stream heading straight towards us, but as we progress, for example, into around 7-8 days time, you can see the main thrust of the jet stream is further south, as allowing cooler pocket of air to develop over the top of us. So not a huge change, but a big enough change to alter those temperatures and potentially turn us quite a bit more unsettled. We see a similar pattern on the latest GEM. Again, westerly wind at the moment, but that low pressure dives southwards with much cooler air and much more unsettled air moving in. That pattern persists right towards the end of the run with a bit of a really far southerly checking jet stream. And it does stay relatively unsettled and relatively chilly all the way to day 10 with, again, not ridiculously cold air masses, but generally around the average or slightly below average mark as we progress towards the latter stages of February. Now, again, the similar pattern with the eastern WF. It seems whenever we've got something that's not cold and not wintry, all the models suddenly start to agree. Again, westerly winds over the coming days. That jet stream dives southwards, very cool and unsettled all the way through to day 10. Eastern WF showing the jet stream pushing northwards slightly there at day 10, but as you can see, another low is moving in, so probably would go a little bit cooler there once again. But again, very similar, around the 0 to -5 degree line coming in, so cold, nothing ridiculous, and very unsettled weather continuing. Now, this is very well emphasised on the latest ensembles. Above average over the next sort of 3, 4, maybe 5 days for London at least. They see the sun drop as that colder polar maritime air moves in. You see it's around a degree or two below average, maybe 3 or 4 at times, staying fairly cool, but very unsettled. Lots of heavy rain associated with this, and there is the risk of a bit of snow. If you have a look at the new snow depth spikes, you can see there are some big spikes for London, but these will be very much microclimate conditions where we get the exact mix of evaporated cooling, timings of the day, for example. Highly unlikely to see much. Maybe the risk of the odd wintry shower if we do get a real push of colder air, but I do think that is very unlikely for southern England at this stage. Very possible further northwards, but for southern England, not likely to be that cold at all, but potentially a bit of chilly weather, nothing amazing at all. Dew points getting close towards freezing, but again, that's another important factor showing you why it probably won't be all too wintry, because those dew points are generally going to be around freezing or slightly above. And you can see the 2 metre temperatures are going to be dropping considerably down from the low teens at the moment, down more towards that sort of 6, 7, 8 degree mark by day, and around the 2 to 4 degree mark by night, and probably slightly cooler where we see clearer skies. And the final thing to show you is the sun drop in pressure. Look at that, 1,030 millibars over the next few days, down towards 980 millibars by sort of Thursday, Friday time. Slowly rising beyond that, but still staying fairly unsettled, with lots of deep lows around, and of course staying pretty chilly. Now, similar from the latest ECMWF. Again, we'll have a look at the midnight run. Big drop in those upper air temperatures to around average or slightly below average towards the end of this working week, with lots of precipitation around. And you can see the sea level pressure taking a plunge down to, again, sort of 980, 985 millibars, and slowly recovering beyond that. And you can see the 2 metre temperatures dropping off quite considerably as well, from the low teens to maybe the mid to high single digits. Again, no massive change, but it will be notable. It will be going a little bit more chilly, back towards the sort of norms for this time of year, maybe even slightly cooler than that in some areas. It is going to be one to watch over the coming weeks, as there is the risk even of a named storm in there if we really do see one of these lows ramp up. But at this stage, I said we just need to keep an eye on the pattern and see what happens with that. But a bit of a change coming up, but nothing particularly wintry, nothing warm, just the same old unsettled weather, with just some slightly cooler air digging in within it, and potentially a little bit more windy and unsettled in general as well. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.